NASCAR is in Mexico this weekend. Xfinity Series race just concluded. Daniel Suarez with the hometown W. Got a little lucky, when the top two drivers of Ty Gibbs and Connor Silich pinballed themselves through turns 1 through 3. And they had to go to the tail with their beat-up race cars. It really put it in Suarez's court. He had Taylor Gray there. Gray looked like he had speed, just didn't have enough to really set up a pass. Silich did get back up into the top 10, had a good shot there at the finish thanks to a timely caution, but he didn't quite set up his pass. I think he got a little anxious and ahead of himself. He tried to make a pass in the corner that wasn't really a good passing corner, and that instead went from him taking third to losing it right back, and then he lost fourth back to Austin Hill. So ultimately he ended up, I believe, fifth on the day. So our guest here for this week is someone who I've known for quite a while, have raced with a good amount, have had good fights with the Win 4 back in the day when we raced together a little more. Robbie Gilvin. What is up, Robbie?
The sky, apparently.
The ceiling above my head. So how are you doing
that's
today?
A ceiling?
Yeah, I got a ceiling right here. I got a ceiling over my head. I don't got the sky. It'd be pretty depressing if I had the rainy sky above my head today.
There's a cream-colored sky over here. No, we are doing at the current moment.
That's awesome. So let's just dive right in, and bit of a time crunch tonight with where we're starting out, but we'll just dive right in. So first question is, what got you into motorsports? Who was your first favorite driver? Who it is now, if that's changed? A lot of us have been around 20, 25 years now, so all our guys we grew up with are all retired. And then your favorite form of motorsports?
Well, the main thing getting into motorsports was kind of just fell into it gradually. A lot of family and friends around me were watching NASCAR when I was little. I remember 2 or 3 years old fooling around with the Terra Libani diecast, and then over time really got more and more into NASCAR. And really what kind of sealed it was the fact that my grandpa owned a couple. He didn't own anything NASCAR wise, but he owned some circle track cars, super modifieds and stocks and the like. Really, I think the first one I fell into is a favorite driver just because, I'm kind of an old head, like the tradition of it and everything. Richard Petty was kind of my favorite, even from, long after he retired. And even now, I still I like all the older drivers, but nowadays trying to follow some of the current drivers and stuff, a lot of the underdogs, the Ryan Siegs and the Jeremy Clements, those type of drivers. I always pull for the underdog when it comes to things like that, especially for running good. Front runner wise, I'm kind of not really particularly partial to anybody as long as it's a good finish and, nobody kills each other.
Right on, yeah, totally get it. And I like seeing the underdogs win too. I hope C can get one here soon. It just seems like they have a good car, good speedway car, like once a year that they can put together a great setup, and then they always just come up that little bit short. But hopefully one day for Ryan, he can get one. Otherwise he'll be the the, I don't know,
the eternal bridesmaid.
The internal, you can't even really call him the Sheldon Creed of Xfinity, I guess, because Sheldon Creed still exists. But yeah, I mean, Clements,
giving Sheldon a run for his money.
Yeah, Jeremy Clements. I remember when he won Road America. I think, what was it, like 2014 or something?
I think it was 2017.
2017. Okay,
right,
yeah. Yeah, I remember.
He had that last lap tussle with Matt Tifft or whatever.
Oh, was that what it was?
I want to say it was Matt Tifft, I think.
Yeah, and then he won that summer Daytona race. Or was it a spring race?
No, it was summer.
It was summer? Yeah, okay. I remember that one. I was pumped about that one. That was cool. And that's the last time he got to win. That was what, 22, 21?
something.
Somewhere in
It may have
there.
been as early as 2018, but probably it was a little bit after Road
Yeah,
America.
I think it was a couple of years after Road America. But I learned today through the broadcast that I guess the 51 team, they used to make their own engines, but now they're supplied engines from Hendrick, which I was like, oh, that's really neat. Maybe that's like the start of a little more growth. Maybe they'll get a little more help later. If Hendrick ever goes full time in Xfinity again, they've been flirting with that 17 car of, maybe having that be a full time deal at some point, whether that's Connor Day or Raja Karuth who gets that opportunity would be pretty cool either way. But maybe if they gave an alliance to another team, it gives them a little more help since they're technically not partnered with JRM.
And see, and even then, I said probably even if they were partnered with Junior Motorsports, engine, I think in the engine department, even still, I think Clemence's team would be pretty far down the pecking order compared to all the rest of the Chevy teams, compared depending on your program. But
Yeah, and that's one thing I randomly thought about a few weeks ago is I was like, Jeremy Clements is 40 years old now. You figure for a lifetime guy like him, he's maybe got another 5 years or so of him driving the car himself. And I'm curious if they would keep running the car with someone else in the seat or if they would just shut down because back in the day in Cup, 70s, 80s, 90s, a lot of those guys once they stopped driving the car, like they ran their own teams, but once they stopped driving the car, they either sold their stuff and got out of it or they ran it a few more years and then got out of it. So, you don't really see those single guy teams stick around unless the owner's the one driving the car. So I'm curious what'll happen with that 51 team when that time comes.
I'd say in Cup, pretty much the rarest example, probably the main example of that in Cup was Childress for the longest time until they got
Mm-hmm.
a second car. And of course, even now in Xfinity, Derek Cope, that 70 car Nunziata runs part time, is a Derek Cope car. And they had a top 10, I think, at Daytona or Atlanta or something, and ended up pulling a Loy Allen and DNQ in the next race. But
Yeah.
I mean, in any case, I mean, I figured it's probably decent enough equipment. I think Clements just needs the money and might have to get that in the form of a more well-paid, talented driver. Maybe he'd get the backing he needs to get to victory lane that way.
Yeah, because I think, I feel like we go through phases of drivers. Like there was obviously the infamous 3-year Cup rookie drought of 2010 to I think 2012, where you had guys like Andy Lally and Kevin Conway winning Rookie of the Year because there was just literally nobody new coming up to the Cup Series at that time. But over the last 5 years or so, you see so much talent coming up the ladder now, and with the state of the sport now, you have to have money. So there's only like in Xfinity, there's only probably what 10 cars that can contend for the win every week on a regular basis. So if you have teams like Alpha Prime or Clemence's team or anyone else there like Sieg's team, you get them a guy who's maybe got the money but is not good enough to get one of those top 10 rides, like that can be his way into Xfinity. Trucks still seems like they're pretty good because they have smaller fields still, 32 trucks at most places, so they don't really have that worry going on. But yeah, I'm curious how that'll all play out.
Yeah, I figure, you know, that's that old saying, money talks, bullshit walks. So you never know.
Yeah.
You might for all the talented drivers that do have the financial backing, there's probably 50 others that are so talented yet they don't have the money to back their driving ability up, and they kind of fall by the wayside because I mean,
Well, that's like Ty Majeski, That's why you struggle to wonder if Ty Majeski will ever go Xfinity racing again because he just doesn't have that financial support. He
yeah,
races for Thor Sport because he got in via working for the team, working in their garage. So that's how he was able to get his opportunity. So for guys like him and Ben Rhodes, they might just be stuck down there in in trucks forever.
End up being lifers. Yeah, it's like Ross Chastain. The way he came up, he got backing with his watermelon farm, Protect Your Melon, and all that. Did some stuff for Keselowski. Then ended up in a bunch of starting park rides for the longest time. Almost had his chance at Ganassi. Then the FBI shit happened with DC Solar, and then he's right back down to the starting park rides. And then luckily Trackhouse come along, and look where he is now. But
Yeah. So let's get away from the motorsports talk a little bit. We can do that all day off recording. A lot of people are here, of course, for the NR 2003 bit. So first, let's start with how you got into NR and when you got into NR.
I'd had the game since about 2012, just dicking around with the demo, and then I then got into like probably about 2/3 of our generation of sim racers through Open Speedway. That was about early 2013. I'd say it was late February 2013 because, yeah, I started on keyboard for about 2 weeks and then got this cheap little $30 wheel once I realized it was something I wanted to, make into a hobby. And it kindly took off from there, and then ended up winning a lot in Open Speedway. Thought I was hot shit, and then started doing leagues, and then I was hot shit for about like 2 months, and then everybody started catching up to my skill level. It's just been kind of a deal like that ever since. Kind of thinking I've got skill and making myself look like an ass in the process, but
Yeah, that's the thing with all of us, right? Like we all go through hot streaks, and either the people racing with you see what you're doing and they get better because they're learning from you and they catch up to you and then they're right there with you, or they might even surpass you, or they're like, fuck this, and they go off and race somewhere else. Because as much as it's a hobby and it's for fun, there is a little bit of competitive spirit for a lot of people out there, and they don't, if they don't have even like a 5 to 10% chance to win, they'll just go race somewhere where that chance goes up to like 30 or 35%.
Right.
But
right, and they don't want to waste their time. Exactly.
But then there's leagues that are good stepping stones. Like you talk about Open Speedway. I know I see JLP, Joseph Landry Pavlon, he races over at Open Speedway a lot, and I see his posts a lot, and I see where he finishes, and I see him like say, oh, like got second here or got fourth there, and like I know JLP's decent, not to dog on him, but when I race him in Maverick, I'm like, depending on the track, I'm like way far ahead. So I've never ran at Open Speedway, but when I think about it, I'm like, man, they're gonna kick me out after like one night because I'm just gonna be too good for them. Like you can't, once you get to a certain level, you have to really find the places that can bring the competition to you, because otherwise, like, they don't want you there, and it's boring for you anyway. Like, it's boring for you, and they don't want you there, so it's no point sticking around.
I mean, the whole point is for them to have a show. If you start stinking up the show off, you got to go off and do something else. But so I mean, for all that though, I mean, it was a good breeding ground. It was just good little. I hate to use the term because they're all good guys. Most of them are good guys over at Open Speedway, but kind of a farm team kind of thing. That's what woodshedding. That's really what it is. Woodshed. You get your ass together and then go race other leagues once you feel you're halfway competitive.
Yeah, and all those guys, I'm sure, are great guys. I don't know any of them personally. I know a few people that might have had problems with them, but that's mainly just because they got too good, and you can't really do anything about that. You get better and you get to a certain point, and I can't help it that I got to this level. I just learned and learned and learned and raced, just like you have and other people have. But so, talking of Open Speedway, what was your first race at Open Speedway? The number, the mod, the track, if you can recollect that.
I don't remember the number. I really just remember the date. I want to say it was either 22 or something like that. I think it was Atlanta. That may have been the first race I led. But, silly me, didn't know any better, ran out of gas, trying to stretch it out and, thinking, hey, cool, I'm leading laps. Then boom, run out of gas. It's like, oh, shit, that's right. I got to make a pit stop. So,
and then
really, I mean, I think it wasn't long after that I started getting wins left and right. And I say left and right. I think I can actually pull up the points standings here. I think I've got probably like 10 or 12 of my first wins over in Open Speedway, not counting other, leagues and things like that, the smaller leagues that were around at the time.
Do you remember
See,
what the first open speedway win was? What that looked like?
see, you gotta remember this is 2013 and my memory sucks, probably from all the
Okay.
drinking. But I mean, it was a fun time. It was a cool win. But I'm seeing I've got March of 2013 point standings. I finished 10th in the Open Speedway standings. Like got 2 wins out of it. But really through half of 2013, I was thinking I was hot shit, and then kind of once I started getting into the bigger leagues like fast and stuff, before Randall and I had a falling out back then. I mean, we're good now, but back then, yeah, I realized how like I better step up if I'm going to be over there. So,
Right,
but then
right.
that ended up working out, but kind of kicking around the small leagues and things like that for a while.
What were a
But
couple other small leagues you ran at during that time?
I'm sure you remember these good and well. That OWRL and shit like that.
OWRL's
That's,
not.
yeah,
Oh, is it the open wheel one?
no. This is it was called OWRL. It was one of those Dion Scott deals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah. I think this probably came around right out, probably about. I think it died right around the time you started getting
Yeah.
in this.
I
You
came
were in
in
our group.
I came in late 2015, November.
Yeah. So yeah, it was long dead after that. But a lot of that, the NNSCRA thing, I joined there the first time around 2014 or so. TNR, Corey
Mhm.
Williams, Eric
TNR,
Rodriguez, those
yep.
people. Uh, really, a few little kind of small. There's so many There's so many to mention, but I can remember so few of them because they pop up for 3 weeks and then everybody would get bored or get angry at each other, and then the league would die, and then they form back up 6 months later with the same people under a different name.
Yeah. It sounds I think I've seen that a few times like there's been like leagues. I think it was Talladega Nights like was a thing, and then it like died, and then like not even like a month later primetime racing league started up, and it was like mostly all the same guys, maybe like one or two less guys and one or two new guys, but it was mostly like the same group and running the same series, same track, same everything. It's just like, yep, that one little
It was
group
like
died of the same
back
people, and then boom, new group sprouted right up.
like back when IMRC with Shane Sides and stuff existed. I think it first started out as OMRA, and I was one of the
No, I think
admins or
that was
whatever. Man.
different. I think that was a separate thing. I think there
I
was
think it may have been combined if I remember. I don't know. Either way, but yeah, I thought IMRC at first started out as a different thing,
it was S
and
Fox.
then yeah, that's what it was. That's Fox, and
Yeah,
then I
Amra
think
Amra was like Brandon Schmidt and Dylan Schwallenberg's league, I
and
think.
seeing I think the first season of OMRA I was co-admin with Schwallenberg, and then I left or got kicked out or whatever. I mean, I was a little shit back then,
Weren't we
but
all?
oh man, oh my god, man, I was fit to be tied back then. Man. Shit,
Oh yeah, you know it.
yeah. God, I would fucking kill people in the race just because they bumped me in practice.
Oh
Because
yeah.
I was mad. Nowadays, I do it just because for the fun of it. But back then, I was actually pissed at them. But I don't actually wreck people in the race over practice shit. Not
Anybody that
anymore.
doesn't know Robbie listening is just like, oh God, I can't even touch him in practice. He'll get upset at me in the race.
Yeah, the restraining orders in the mail.
Oh
No,
boy.
no, man. But no, really. But the point of all that is, pretty much just things. The more things change, the more they stay the same when it comes to all the small leagues I ran back then. But
Uh,
yeah, it was. I think basically my first run from about 2013 to early 2018 was mainly small leagues.
Gotcha. What was one thing you struggled with when you started out when you got that $30 wheel?
Well, for one thing, it didn't have force feedback, and for what it wasn't a bad. I could drive with the best of them, and then I think that summer I upgraded from that straight into a G27. Back in the day, they were like
Oh,
250
hell yeah.
bucks. And it was funny. I ran much better with the $30 wheel than I did with the G27. I don't know. I never could wrap my head around it. And then that wheel died. And then I ran some Thrustmaster, I think, for a while.
Hmm.
And but yeah, it was. I mean, early on, the biggest thing was I think once people like Schwallenberg and a couple others, I can't remember names off the top of my head, but like racing T, especially with like TNR super speedway stuff. That's what I struggled with at first because, and it's funny because I got my first league win in a super speedway at Daytona.
Hmm.
A lot of it was back racing against like Jonathan Tungate, Dylan Schwallenberg. They were on my level or higher in Tungate's case, and it was always kind of a yin and yang kind of thing racing them, and it was a hell of a time,
See,
really.
I don't think I ever got to race Tungate. I remember seeing his name around, but I don't think he was really running much when I came in. I think he had already
Oh,
kind of
and
made his way off to whatever else.
yeah, I think he was getting pulled away by school and things like that. And I think he was really about. I think if he'd still be raced, he'd be about on the level you and Merkel and Dunlap Rattler are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Who? What would you say your preferred number is? I know you like to run 69 a lot, but would you say that's your number, or would you say you got another one, or you don't really care?
Um, Most times I really don't care. 69 I do for the meme, obviously, but a lot
Yeah.
of times I run like in Essex or like for instance at Essex I run the one because I'm still the defending champion, but I don't run full time anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Really everywhere else is either the 69 or really whatever number I can grab. But
Gotcha. Yeah. Oh man, I lost my train of thought. Oh, I was thinking about running the 69 at a league I've been recently let back into, Bomb Squad Racing League, and I was gonna have a funny joke where if I won a broadcast race, I could say at the end of the broadcast, "You, everyone I just beat, they just got 69," and that would have been my little like joke on broadcast. But I
yuck.
decided to go for. I decided, it's a little cheesy. I'll just run the 42 instead, and run some old Juan Pablo Montoya paint schemes from '07 and '08.
Smart
So
move.
so I've been doing that instead. I've got a big red car. You don't chew
Yeah.
big red, and fuck you. And then I got a juicy fruit scheme done. Cody Lamas has to paint the Haviland scheme next. I'm going with the '07 scheme. It's got like some
Yeah.
shark fin design to it, and then might get his '09 Target car done. Not sure yet. Might go with the
Right.
Spencer car instead. We'll see. Um, would you say you ever had a mentor?
Not really. I kind of felt a lot of things out myself when it comes to in our racing, really kind of doing it by feel and then kind of gleaning off my peers for other stuff, like how to get a couple tenths quicker on road course. See, road courses, for example, I'm not that good at most of them. But if I follow a couple people around that are good, like yourself and a couple others on road courses, I tend to pick up some stuff. But that's common. If you're struggling to find a few tenths, you just watch somebody's lap or have them talk you through a lap or whatever. But for say like following a mentor when it comes to sim racing, I've not really had one. I just kind of stumbled around, felt things out on my own, and right or wrong, that's what they are.
Yeah, I remember we had a great battle last year in Apollo's Fuel Sportsman Series at Heartland Park. I don't, I think something, I forget if something happened to you or not, but I know in practice, as far as lap time went, like we were right on top of each other for the most part. That track was a ton of fun. You had to really
Oh yeah.
be careful with your throttle input in certain sections, or you would just burn the rear tires off the car. And you pretty much burned them off anyway, just because of how much you were on the gas coming out of certain corners.
Oh yeah. No, my driving style is pretty hard charging. I mean, I'm capable of saving, and I'm capable of long runs, obviously. I mean, just look at Pocono a couple weeks ago. But I don't know. My style is just like get up there and get after it, and hard charge as fast as I can, come hell or high water.
Right on. So you said you after the G27 you switched to a Thrustmaster. You still using that wheel now, or you got something else?
No, I used the Thrustmaster up until 2018 when I left NR for a couple years.
Mm-hmm.
I came back in 2020. Actually, I'm. Let me get my timeline right. No, I switched from that because I think it broke to one of those racing wheel Apexes, another one of those cheap $100 piece of shits. Ran that for a couple months and then had to then left sim racing for a couple years to get my shit together, real
Mm.
life. And then 2020, I think it was like the week before COVID shut everything down. I was going to get a computer, get back in NR regardless. Got a computer, found this Momo from the year 2000 for like $100, still in box and everything. And I ran with that till about February of this year. And then the gas pedal, actually, uh, the rod that holds the pedal down and, does the thing. The plastic actually snapped,
Oh, I
completely
remember
snapped. The whole
this.
thing just snapped completely. Yeah, yeah, you've got pictures. Um, but yeah, that son of a bitch just snapped in half, and then I got a good deal on a G920 for like $180, open box deal. So that's what I've been racing on ever since.
Right on. Yeah. Okay, so let's get into some fun questions. Who would you say the first person you butted heads with was? I know there's probably been a lot because we're kind of similar, like that little bullheaded. But who would you say the first one was?
Bumping what, the head between your shoulders, or oh yeah, um, oh fuck, man.
Who brought out Robbie the asshole? Who did it?
It was me more than anything, but
I've heard that one before too.
person I,
Yeah.
but shit, no. I think the only one I really got into it per se, because we have little spats here and there with drivers. Then you forget about it, move on, kind of. But no, I want to say it was maybe been Jack Merkel, because
Okay.
like I mean, like us, he's got a similar personality, get after it, and don't take shit off anybody. And then see, now Merkel and I are good friends now, like. But back then, like, you couldn't get us in a room for 5 minutes without us taunting each other and shit. But we actually had a conversation about this a while back, like a couple weeks ago. Pretty much the same thing. I want to say it was him, but I'm sure there was probably others. But the first one that really sticks out is Merkel, because we'd always race each other real hard and slopping around shit. I mean, but on the whole, ain't no. Before I go off into another tangent about why rivalries are kind of bullshit in the video game. I mean, that pretty much, like I said, yeah, Merkel was probably the first one I really had any head button with.
Well, so since you brought it up, who is your rival? Who would you say your rival was maybe 5 years ago versus who your rival is now, if you have one? And that don't have to be
Now
negative.
per se now. I mean, really, the only I'd say on track wise, any rivals or anybody that's faster than me, but it's a positive thing because I can learn off of them, and I don't really fuck with them too much, like us and like Merkel now. I mean, we run well together, and I learn shit off of him. He learns stuff off of me. Probably learns what not to do off of me. But like you all, I'd say probably a lot of the faster guys nowadays, like the Landon Lyles and the Kyle Wattses of the newer drivers coming up in
Mm-hmm.
different leagues and stuff, and they're blazing fucking fast.
Who would you say it was like 5 years ago or so?
5 years ago,
Or when you came back, maybe, I
yeah,
guess, since
yeah,
you kind of had that break. Who, like maybe around, just say like either 2021, 2022. Before a couple of these
I would.
newer guys came in.
I think we would still. I think that was like the tail end of me and Merkel's, rivalry, button heads and stuff, and then we called a truce on that. But through then, I still was at the tail end of my asshole days. You got to understand. So I was even then I was butting heads about every other person, but I was learning to calm down. You know, learning to calm myself and try to have a little fun. But I remember, see, there was a time where the first time I was in racing, there was a time back then where I was totally unpopular. You know, nobody wanted me to win. You know, they would do everything to keep me from winning just because of, what my personality and what I did. But even now, it's like, eh. I mean, personality wise, a lot of people say, "Oh, cool, Robbie's racing." It's like, "Oh shit," as opposed to, "Oh shit, he's here again." But
I feel like that
rivalry
was the same
wise,
with me.
yeah. I mean, when you're as good as us and a lot of the like the Barkles and the Duns and stuff, it's like, oh shit, why bother? But I mean, rivalry wise, I don't think I really had a one that glaringly stands out per se from back then, around the 21 to 22 era, because I wasn't racing as much, and I just said hell with it. I really didn't give a shit.
Huh, okay. Have you ever intent wrecked another driver? I already know the answer is yes.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say no and then lie about it, but oh fuck yeah. I mean, who hasn't?
Do you remember who your first was?
No, I really
Oh
don't.
man, he don't even remember his first.
I
He's done it so much.
I've been yeah, exactly. No, but I didn't give well the art
It's
of
like the
intentional
intent.
wreck scene.
He's like the
Uh,
intent wrecking whore over here.
come and get it. No, the see the art of intentional wrecking is making it look like an accident. But I was like, oh shit, my foot slipped off the brake. I'm sorry. And then key up in the team channel like, ah, fuck that guy. No, I would say probably I think the wildest intent wreck I've done was IRL IndyCar at Gateway with Austin LaPlante. Like I think he had put me in the wall a lap before, and I'd spun or whatever, and I was falling back. And I, Bowman Gray style, I waited on him, and coming down the front stretch, I hooked him, just, right hooked him. Son of a bitch did a blowover into the catch fence and turned one. I mean, see, that's another one of those deals. Is Austin and I are okay now. It's just one of those heat of the moment deals. That's what a lot of this is. But
I would say my favorite make it look like an accident intent wreck was early 2016 S Fox Talladega. At the time, myself and Eric Rodriguez were going through like huge beef. Like we just didn't like each other, got on each other's nerves, and so I was drafting behind him, and I was pushing him off down into turn one, and I just didn't lift. Just didn't lift, just kept pushing him as we went into the corner, and he got dumped, and around he went. And a couple of guys like Tanner Guns knew that I was going to do it. And Shane thought it was an accident. So I claimed it, and that was like the end of it in the moment. But then later I got suspended for 6 months for quote lying about it. So I never lied that it was an accident. I just claimed it as like, or maybe I did. I don't know. It was like 9 years ago now. But yeah, that was like one of my made it look like an accident. And then one time I tried to get away with wrecking Nick Gunther at FTF at Auto Club in I think it was 2019. And what it was is we were running Auto Club multi-groove. It was like the Super Suck EXE that they had at the time back when NASCAR first started running the 550 horsepower, and like the bigger spoilers everywhere. And I remember he ran me in the wall once, and I let it go. And then he ran me in the wall, or maybe it was he ran me up. He slide jobbed me once, I lifted, and then he tried to slide job me again, and he put me in the wall. And so the next time I got under him off of turn two, I just quote unquote side drafted too aggressively and left hooked them down to the inside wall. Needless to say, the admins did not buy that, considering my history by that point, and I was parked and then suspended. And I kind of regret that one. Not that, not regretting it because I wrecked Nick, but I regret it because I had probably a decent chance at winning that race with how the EXE was set up that we were using, because Schwallenberg actually ended up winning that one. So
See, a lot of that with the intent wrecking of things. This is a kind of a tangent here, but see, I admin my own league now, 150 Racing, and
yeah, you can't.
a lot of that, yeah, exactly. It ruins your reputation. My reputation's still, I think, not the best from back then. And see, I'm trying to, that's why I don't race as much anymore. Is not so much a reputation. I just don't have time, and I don't have really a want to race very much. But the point is, with trying to clean up your act, is that it rubs off on other people. Like, oh, and is that Robbie's league? Is like, oh fuck, I ain't running that shit. But I mean, the point is, like your reputation precedes you when it comes to things like that. And even if you're trying to start up a league or doing whatever in another league, it's like your reputation precedes you everywhere, and that's kind of a cross you have to bear when it comes to going into other leagues or starting your own league, trying to build up the numbers, things like that. And it just see that's why I'm frown upon intentional wrecking anybody. If you like slide up and say somebody does you wrong, best bet is just to pass them and kick their ass. But that's just my opinion of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I haven't intent wrecked anybody since September of 2020. I'm going on almost 5 years. I did wreck one guy right after the checkered flag at one league, like 2 years ago at Maverick, but I don't count that. Like, the checkered flag's been out. We hit the line. Like, and plus a lot of us do that. We wreck each other after the race or something.
Yeah,
If it's after the race,
anymore,
we don't really, we never really frown upon that. So
yeah. See, any more at most, if somebody does me wrong, like really wrong, I'll go up under caution and bump them or door them or whatever.
oh yeah,
And
that
saying if it's and that's just letting off steam, and I get back in line and we just move on from it.
yeah, I did that to
Now, if
somebody.
somebody's racing me really hard, real ridiculous, I mean, slide up, get them out of the groove at least. Not so much put them in
Yeah.
the wall, but get them out of the groove where they lose a couple spots so they know not to do it again.
Yeah, I don't remember. I already forgot who I did it to, but there was somebody this year where they really frustrated me, and I like went up to them under yellow. Oh, I remember who it was now. I went up to them. He ran me up into the wall. Like, there was no way he was making it off the corner, and he just slid up into me and put me in the wall. And he was saying how, oh, like, I couldn't do anything about it, Zach. I'm sorry. And I was like, yeah, you could have. You could have lifted. He's like, oh, it was a car. The 7 was to my inside. The 7 keyed up, and he's like, man, I wasn't even close to you. So yeah, I gave him a medium bump under yellow, because that was for like the end of the stage. Gave him a medium bump under yellow. Funny enough, now this is like, I think, the third time I've made a reference to this guy without dropping him by name during the podcast. So it's been a while since the last reference. So I guess it was a matter of time before I mentioned it again. I'm over it. I mean,
Right.
It took me a minute to remember who the hell it was, but I remember. But yeah, I mean, I don't even really do that too much anymore. I'm kind of just like, whatever. Like, if this 2 seconds of door damage prevents me from winning and I get second, like, whatever. Like, I'll just get the next one or something. Like, I win too much to complain. Someone told me, you win too much. Like, you're what? Like, I crashed out one night at Bristol over something, and someone was like, oh, why are you complaining? You're gonna just win 14 more races this year anyway. Like, that's not really the point, but okay, you make I guess that's valid.
Right. Yeah, that kind of brings me to my next point about it. I mean, for the love of fuck, it's a fucking game. There ain't no reason. The competitive spirit kind of likes to. Sometimes it overrides people's sense of logic, and then they take shit too seriously, and then hold grudges, and then kind of go ballistic
so
over it. I
many.
mean, this is a great way to blow off steam. Don't get me wrong, but like
There's so
you're not
many stupid
in
grudges
yeah,
from this game.
yeah. In 95% of cases, you're not making a living off this. You're not getting anything for it but bragging rights. This ain't going to further your career unless you do like iRacing or something, but that's a whole different ballgame. But I mean, in most cases, these people are doing it for the fun of it. There's no incentive to get your panties in a twist over this shit. Why get upset? Heat of the moment's one thing, but if you're gonna go like 2 hours after the race and start threatening and getting all worked up and shit, it's like go find something else to do that's not gonna make you get so upset.
Yeah, right, exactly. Um, any idea what the dumbest thing you've ever said is? Obviously, we talked about the on-track stuff, but do you ever remember saying something dumb during or after a race? Like a random example would be thinking that somebody wrecked your teammate when in actuality, he got bumped into your teammate by another guy.
Well, I'll say probably the dumbest thing I've done. Said I think it was against Dion Scott. Actually, I think it was some modified league or something we put together or something. He was racing and I think he threatened to wreck me or something. And then it's. I think the point is, I think somewhere in there got a picture of Don McTavish's crash at Daytona, the aftermath. Let's put it that way, and the
Okay.
words got flown around and shit like that.
Yeah, you don't
So
have to say exact quotes. That's fine.
yeah, no, yeah, but I mean, you get the point. Though. I was like, that's basically, I mean, that's going to see. I've done it before, and it's going a step too far. Like it's one thing if you're gonna, hey, I'm gonna turn you around, I'm gonna put you in the parking lot, but when when it comes to threatening, it's calling the pot over here, calling the kettle black. But it was too far then. It's too far now, and I mean, all you could do is really grow from it. And I mean, like I said, that ties back into the point that this is a game. Ain't no reason to get your panties in a twist over,
Oh yeah.
getting wrecked, getting dumped out of something.
Yeah, I used to compare myself to Kurt Busch all the time. Like I'd get mad and just go and go and go and go and go. And I still do it sometimes, but now a lot of times I try to model myself more after like Ryan Blaney, which like Ryan Blaney will get mad. He'll be mad for 5 seconds and then he's over it and he moves on and he forgets about it. So I try to model myself more after Ryan Blaney if I'm going to get mad, which I'm a believer like you need to let yourself be mad, but then you need to let it go quickly. But don't just bottle it up and think you're not allowed to say anything because if you bottle it up, then all that happens is you end up getting really mad when something really frustrating happens.
You take it and then exactly, then taking it out on someone that's got nothing to do with whatever.
Yeah, like if you let five little pinpricks go without saying anything, then when you get another little pinprick and you just freak out like
The
you got a big
the balloon,
pinprick, yeah,
exactly. The balloon pops and it's over.
versus just letting the air out slow, like you let it out slow, like oh, yep, the little pinprick. Let me just let out a little bit. Okay, yep, we're good. Um, you know, but it is what it is, and we all have our moments. What if you could pick one? What race win means the most to you?
That's a fun one. I think it just happened this past season with Essex. It was, of course, they run Friday nights around midnight, and I managed to make pretty much the whole season. I think I got 5 wins on it en route to the championship. Then I won the last race of the season at Iowa, which got me the championship. And my thing with that is I hadn't won a championship that wasn't in my own league, and probably, if I can remember right, it'd been probably about 3 or 4 years. Um, Not that it really matters to me. It's just kind of cool to see. I'm big on letting stress go. I like everything as low stress as possible, especially when it comes to trivial stuff. Because if I'm stressing over it, I'm just gonna drop it and go find something else low stress. Um, See, winning at Iowa kind of, and I don't usually get choked up about wins on a video game, but that one kind of got to me because it's like, thank God I can finally chalk this up and just go have fun. Because
Mm-hmm.
when you're in contention for a championship, all the fun goes out the window. It's fucking drudgery trying to say, oh, it's we're second in points. Oh, if I run bad, if I have a bad points day, they're gonna be right up there. The anxiety of it is what gets you. especially in a championship battle, and it sucks all the fun out of racing. I mean, but the reward at the end of it is so worth it. But it's like, man,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. I think the last time I got emotional about a win was maybe late 2021, just because I was in a really rough spot mentally at the time, and just like the win, it wasn't like it was a really big win or anything. Like I wasn't even racing for the championship or nothing, but that the win just like came at the right time, and
really,
just
really cathartic.
really cathartic. Yeah, I remember. I think I had an interview too for that one, and I was like borderline crying in the interview. So,
So I
um,
will to say this, probably that too, and also I think for the longest time, I think I got it. I don't know. I can't remember if I got an IMRC Lights Championship back whenever, but I always had the hardest time winning an IMRC Cup because everybody was, most everybody was on my level,
mm,
and I would, run, decent, like top 5, top 10 when I wasn't pissed at somebody and trying to kill them. But I think I finally ended up locking one up at Daytona or whatever, and just the satisfaction of it was just awesome. And then, of course, not too long after I get kicked out of IMRC because of the way I was back then. But
mm.
it's, let's see, a lot of those people, I mean, I talked to, especially back then, I still talk to like Cole Baker and stuff. And,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. I mean, I try to at least keep in touch with some of them, I mean, if they don't want to stay in touch, cool. But I mean, I'm detracted for the point, but the point was, it's kind of, it was another one of those satisfying kind of wins.
Right on. What's a moment between you and myself that you can recall? Literally anything.
Any moment. That we haven't already covered. I think back when you had your open set league at Vegas, I forget the mod. It was open setup. Now remember, we had pretty equal setups, but I tweaked mine to be, to my driving style, and I ended up just kind of, I got lucky and ended up running away with a victory on that. And it was
Okay.
decently distant.
Yeah,
I
it
think
might have
I'm
been
pretty sure
probably
we were
back
1-2.
probably back in the NRSL days. If I had to guess, it was probably the Cup
It was like
Series.
2016 or 17. I
Yep,
think what it
definitely.
was.
Yeah, it was the Cup Series. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think I can vaguely remember that. It was so long ago. Um. Okay. Here's a funner question. Favorite mod, favorite track, favorite league to race at, past or present. Don't pick your own league. And favorite physics type.
Damn.
I had to had to make
I'm
sure.
gonna find a. I'm gonna find a way to promote the fucking league at the end of this. But favorite mod, I would have to say through all the stuff I've ran, God, there's so many to pick. I could go with a vintage mod because I'm kind of a retro guy. Um, I've been kind of liking those vintage trucks lately, the new ones that Smith Stem
Mm-hmm.
put out. I did a small league with those. Not saying that's why it's my favorite, but I just love the look of them. The Chevys, the GMCs, the Dodges, really all of them. They look nice. Favorite track would probably be I'd probably have 3 or 4. I would say Vintage Darlington, uh, Riverside, um, shit. And we got Darlington, Riverside. We got, believe it or not, Pocono. I always seem to have good runs there
No, me
when
my
I'm not flipping
triangle.
22 times or,
Oh yeah.
yeah. Yeah, when I'm not flipping 22 times or getting cut off going into the tunnel turn. And then I would say pretty much most of the short tracks in NR because I seem to have a knack for short tracks for whatever reason.
Right on.
Um, uh, let's say favorite mod, favorite track. What else did you ask?
Physics type, and then you can save league to race at for last since you can't pick your own.
um, um, I would say for favorite physics. I mean, I seem to have the best luck with GNS. Sometimes CTS, but mainly GNS, especially like I said with short tracks and stuff. Because out of all of them, GNS seems to fit my driving style the most. And then favorite leagues, really, anywhere I can race and have a good time. Places like Essex, OSCC on occasion because I do some broadcasting there. I really don't run a whole lot of leagues anymore because of my work schedule. music on the side. But I usually do like a bunch of one-offs, run some special events. I just run around wherever people will be dumb enough to have me.
Mhm.
So, really, mainly like the Essex, OSCC, Maverick on occasion. Whenever I do like one or two races a season, subbing for somebody.
Yeah.
Um,
All right.
yeah,
Did you say physics type? I might have spaced out.
yeah. I was talking about GNS.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. A lot of people don't run GNS anymore. I know Bomb Squad recently, this past year, they switched their Xfinity mod series from being CTS to GNS. So now they run every physics type once a week. They run trucks on Wednesday, CTS, Cup on Thursday, and Cup, and then Xfinity Friday and GNS. So they have different physics open setup 3 nights in a row. So I might jump on the grind a little bit at certain places next year, and run all three during the same week. See if I can't. I have not run. I've not run GNS really a lot at all. Like no one, like I said, no one
Yeah.
really uses it, which is kind of a shame. Like everyone either likes
See
Cup or
our
CTS.
our winter series at 150 uses the Bush cars, Splash Go, the Splash Go '03, but in GNS form. And
Okay.
a lot of people seem to like the racing with that.
Right on. So what has kept you invested in NR as opposed to moving to like another sim for fun? You said it's a hobby, but so what has kept you having NR be the hobby versus like jumping to iRacing or something?
Well, for one thing, I can't afford it. Um,
Good point.
now the so yeah, it's a pain in the dick enough for this. But a lot of it is really the community. Because a lot of the 90% of the people I race with now, I've raced with back then, and it's like getting into the newer communities and stuff like that, getting the younger people, watching them do their thing, and getting you know watching right. It's really kind of bringing my expertise into different areas is what keeps me going. Because like I left, after I got booted from IMRC, I started hanging out with different crowds. You realize there's more to NR than just the crowd I was in,
Right.
and a lot of people started getting off on that. Like back when Connor Hudson, LA Productions, had his league in NR. I ran that a lot, EPRS, NRLDS, and then once that branched off into something else, went there. And really, from there is where I met probably about 85% of the people I race with now. And it's just kind of a sheer, really, keeping it from being boring. That's really what keeps me into NR, because the day I find this is boring, and even just even hosting special events now, what keeps me going, like I said before, with 150, that's part of why I stay in it, because people seem to really like the special events that I do. And I mean, I don't get a lot of people, maybe 10 to 15 at most, and I'd like to expand that. But really, the people that do show up say they always have a hell of a time, and that's really what keeps me going. As long as everybody's having a good time, I'm happy. It's really what it is.
Yeah, right on, man. Yeah, of course. That's what it's all about, having fun. How many people would you say you've had a chance to meet from the community, if any?
In real life,
Yeah, in real life.
um, none really. I mean, I kind of keep this as a separate thing. To an extent, I close enough friends, cool, but I really haven't had a chance to meet a lot of the people from the community. I mean, in most cases, it's not something I'm interested in, because you kind of, it's like, you don't really hang out with your work buddies for the most part when you get off work. I kind of look at it the same way with this, unless we're really close and there's
Okay.
a reason. And then if there's a good enough reason, like we're going to a race or something, then if I could fork over the money, I'll think about it. But I mean, it's really not something I'm interested in 95% of the time.
Okay. What got you into broadcasting with SAC 103 TV? I've heard your voice a few times on his streams. A lot of times you click on a SAC stream and there's always somebody different talking. Sometimes SAC doesn't talk at all. and he's just kind of doing the cameras, it seems. But so, what got you involved with
So,
103 TV?
so the bigger question is, how sloshed do I sound when I'm doing the broadcasts?
Oh boy. Oh
No, but
man.
now you know my secret. But no, broadcasting just kind of came natural. Just especially mainly after I stopped doing Essex full time. I had something to do, and even actually no, I take it back. After I stopped doing OSCC full time, started doing some broadcasting with Jonathan Solos and things like that. I ran my own broadcasting thing on YouTube called Orb for like 2 or 3 races, but my computer can't handle it.
Okay.
Can't handle OBS and stuff. My frame rates are awful, so I just turned to just hopping on other people's stuff and commentating. Um, Figure we do after, like I said, when I stopped doing full time OSCC. I think that's really when I got into the broadcasting of it, getting into the booth, and I seem to have an interesting take on things, if not completely warped. Uh, and really, I just kind of tag along with Zach because he would do a lot of the OSCC broadcasts whenever whenever it's Jonathan Solos, we call him Pasta, whenever
Mm-hmm.
Solos couldn't. And a lot of times I would tag him with Solos, and then I think we would get Zach to commentate with Solos and myself half the time whenever he wasn't racing, and then it just kind of snowballed from that.
Cool. Yeah. Hell yeah. I mean, I've been doing broadcasting with Andrew Miller recently. It's been a great time. I wish the races we did, I wish a lot more of them went caution free or minimal cautions. I enjoy doing hobo because it's open setup, but man, they gotta get their stuff together. They've been having some real wreckfests lately, and it seems like they might get a green flag run going, and then next thing you know, there's a caution within the fuel window, and then it just turns to chaos.
It's
Just
like
caution after
it's
caution every 5 laps because the guys just drive their setups so hard that they didn't make them to drive that hard, so then they start getting loose and spinning
yeah,
out, and it just snowballs from
right.
there.
Said a lot of that seems like they just don't have the time to test with their setup, and
Oh,
then
a
once
lot
they
of
get
them
in the
do.
race,
You'd be surprised. A lot of the guys that race at Hobo, they spend Monday night. Excuse me. They'll spend Monday night testing and making setups. They
mm,
just, some of them just have a habit. Sometimes, everyone makes mistakes. But yeah, I wish they could provide some cleaner races for the times that I'm
yeah.
there.
And so I think there's a saying for that, I think they're. Let me word this correctly because it'll sound stupid if I don't. I'd say, I mean, you go there for a wreck, and every once in a while a race breaks out.
Oh man. Yeah, I mean that's how it
And
used to
I'm not
be.
talking bad about Hobo. I used
No,
to race there
no,
myself, and it was always a fun time. But you see that in about every other league. A lot of
it
times you
used to
have a
be
good
like that
run.
with Maverick.
Yeah, you'd have good runs, and then for every once in a while, it's a yin and yang thing. You have great races, and then you have not so good races. But it's just kind of a lot of it's sticking with it.
I thought
It,
I thought Pocono was going to be a Wreckfest Tuesday, and it wasn't. We only
no, it
had
was
what
a
four or five. It was a good race.
yeah, it was a good race. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I'm thoroughly impressed because 2 years ago I ran a few races there, and every week it was like you couldn't go 5 laps in the first third of the race until 10 cars were DNF'd and off the track because it was just so
And see,
bad.
I did Charlotte last season with Maverick, and it was that kind of same deal.
Yeah, I mean Keith Hughes and Tate being there to help Ben out since I think about last year,
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
has
it, that
helped
that
a lot.
yeah, that's giving him a shot in the arm for sure.
Yeah, because I don't Ben. I don't really remember who Ben had before that, but I remember I don't remember the guy's name, but it kind of sounded like he had never really done adminning before. So it might have been Greg Shetner. I don't exactly remember if that was who it was or not, but that's the name that pops in my head because I've seen his name still listed as a administrator in that server. So it might have been
Right.
him. I don't remember, but I remember one time someone blocked me through the quad oval at Charlotte 2 years ago, and I didn't lift, and I wrecked the guy, and they called it on me, and I was like, "Are you for real?" But
Right.
let's move away from NR. We've got a bit of an exit topic. I know you've got other interests, so let's talk a little bit about music. What got you into music growing up?
Well, for one thing, it It ran somewhere in the family. It just didn't run that deep into the family because I'm the only one for like a couple generations who plays music, and has any skill at it. But a lot of it was just kind of growing up. Grandparents would have country music all the time on the radio, and that's kind of what got me toward music. And eventually, as I started getting older, when you know that deal when you get like 12, 13 years old, and you're discovering yourself, things like that, discover what music you like, all that. And that's when I started getting into classic rock, the Eagles, and things like that. And that's kind of stuck with me. Of course, now I listen to a bunch of different stuff, but I think the musician bug in me was planted somewhere because, like, my grandpa's third cousin was the country singer, Little Jimmy Dickens. If for anybody out there who listens to this who knows country music, the Grand Ole Opry, he was a member of the Grand Ole Opry, and I think he had a hit with a novelty song called "Take an Old Cold Tater and Wait." But uh, a lot of that kind of, I don't know where the hell it trickled down, but somehow it trickled down into me, and I've played music from uh played out really since after COVID, but I've played guitar and stuff like that since I was 12. I play mainly guitar, but also play bass, piano, drums, banjo, mandolin, dobro, steel guitar, things
Dobro?
like that. A lot of different things. Dobro, yeah.
What the fuck is a dobro?
Yeah. If you basic what a dobro is a it's a guitar. See, before electric guitars, and obviously this is like in the 20s and 30s before good electrification, pickups and things like that. What a dobro is kind of the intermediary step. They would take a metal cone and just plant it right over the bridge of the guitar, put the bridge on, string it up, and that cone would shoot the sound. It would project the sound more than an acoustic guitar would.
Okay.
And there's different ways to play. You could play it Spanish style, which is like playing a normal guitar, or you could play it Hawaiian style on your lap. That's why you see a lot of bluegrass, like dobro players playing. But it looks like a guitar with a hubcap on it. It's what it looks like.
Huh,
But
okay.
it has its own unique sound when you play it Spanish style, like a normal guitar. It's used by a lot of blues musicians. And when you play it on your lap, bluegrass, country, Hawaiian music, things like that. Um, but yeah, I'm dabble in it. I'm not that good of a dobro player, but I do dabble in it.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I never knew that. Um, who would you say are some newer bands you listen to right now in any genre?
Uh, I don't listen to a lot of newer stuff, but I think a lot of the stuff there's some modern country, you know, not the Nashville stuff that comes out now. It's kind of pop with a southern accent, in my opinion. But
Mm-hmm.
a lot of like Tyler Childers, Sturgill Simpson, those kind of modernish country things, and they're kind of what back then would be considered outlaw country. It's kind of an outlaw country vibe that they put off. We play like one of the bands I'm in. We play some Sturgill Simpson,
Okay.
but a lot of the I think really there's not a lot of newer acts that I really dig more so than you know than just because I mean I see my I'm kind of an old head. I'm stuck in my ways when it comes to music, and a lot of the musicians I play with will tell you that too.
Okay.
But a lot of my influences are like Don Felder from the Eagles, the guy who wrote Hotel California, and the original guitar player from Chicago, Terry Kath. He sings "Make Me Smile," and if you ever listen to Terry Kath, he is a fucking monster on guitar, and he died way too young. But my point is, I mean, not a lot of modern stuff appeals to me like the older stuff does.
Who would you say
So,
your favorite band from the, I guess I should centralize this. Who would you say your favorite band from the 20th century is, and who would you say might be at the top of your list somewhere for the 21st century?
um, let's see. For 20th century, I would say if I could, I'm going to expand on this and pick three. I would say the Eagles because they really got me into all the music I listen to now. Chicago because that kind of explored my jazz rock kind of thing, and I was really big into the Bee Gees as a kid, believe it or not.
Okay.
And a lot of the Bee Gees stuff, it's not just Saturday Night Fever. They've got a bunch. They sing harmony like nobody else. It's that sibling harmony they got. That's saying they're not just Saturday Night Fever. They've done stuff from back in the '60s all the way till early 2000s. Nowadays, if I listen to anybody modern, like I said, besides Sturgill Simpson, Tyler Childers, and their backing bands and stuff, I would say Bill. I'm going solo artist here. Like Billy Strings is a good one. He's a killer player.
Okay.
Billy Strings. I would say pretty much. Like I said, I don't listen to a lot of modern stuff, so a lot of the modern bands don't really. I really don't have enough knowledge to get behind them and enjoy their music. But
Right. Yeah, you're an old head, like you said.
yeah.
Any other interests that some of our friends might not know about? Anything in like the movie realm or TV shows or even like anything not to do with media?
I mean, I dabble in photography a little bit, but I'm not that good. Um, um, really, I just don't really do much else besides the music and the racing and I'm really a simple guy when it comes to interests. It's
A simple man.
one of those, yeah, depending on your definition of the word simple.
Simple but yet complicated.
Yeah.
Well, that's really all I got, Robbie. So I appreciate you coming on to Who's That Driver. I once again, second week in a row, I have done the icebreaker and then forgotten to introduce myself in the podcast. But as I said last week, everybody clicked on the video. They know what the hell they're watching and getting into.
Yeah.
So floor is yours.
Let me
if
go
you
ahead.
wanna, shout your shit out, man. Go for it.
Yeah, and shot my shit out. That's nasty.
Oh man.
No, I was gonna plug the 150 shit for anybody who likes a bunch of whack shit. I've got 150 racing, of course. June 20th, we're doing our 2.4 du Meme. It's a Le Mans theme event with GTP cars. We have a whole summer racing series. 4th of July, the day of, we're doing a Firecracker 250 with GN70 cars at Daytona. August 15th, we're doing a Brickyard 200 at Indy with Cut 90. September 6th, we have a $100 per Southern 200 at Darlington with 50s cars. That's going to be broadcast on FRN. And then October 4th, I believe, we have a Harvest 250. Same cars as the Firecracker 250, GN70 Winged Warriors, but at Talladega. And then starting November 1st, we're going to get back up with our Busch series in the winter, GNS Physics, about 12 races or so. And then, who knows what next year holds.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, that sounds great. So, everybody, if you're interested in the 150 racing, Robbie, feel free to send me, if you have one, a permanent Discord link, and I can drop that in the description of this video. But otherwise, that is it here for episode 13 of Who's That Driver. Kind of fitting, in my opinion, that Robbie got to be the guest for old episode 13. Kind of the bad luck nightmare for a lot of guys back in the day, as he said. Oh God, Robbie showed up. For both competitive reasons and for bad attitude reasons. So happy to have Robbie on, and thanks again for coming out, Robbie.
Yeah, don't hurt yourself, young America.
Oh yeah, amen to that one. We'll see. We might have a double episode drop this week, but if you don't see something by Thursday, then next episode
call the police. Something's wrong.
Oh yeah, the video got blocked. Call the police. Something's wrong. Yeah, for sure. But yeah. Anyway, I'm your host Zach Rogers, and thanks for listening to Who's That Driver. See y'all next time.